legislation to require city contractors to hire a percentage of workers from the city on city contracts.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes. However, I should point out that there have been...
Sorry, could the candidates stand up because some of the people in the back can't?
Oh, sure. Carolyn Conklin, current city council member at large, chair of the finance committee. Absolutely, yes. In fact, there have been conversations in the last few weeks we have 3 attorneys currently on council, Elaine Spall, Carla Palumbo, and Lovely Warren, who are district council people, about that very subject. And it's a prevailing wage also on construction jobs. It's putting city residents to work. So I'm very much in favor of it, and there's actually discussions going on right now.
Yes, I'm absolutely in favor of it for city contractors. I'm in favor for it for our police officers, our fire department, and for our school teachers. I think that we should have some sort of legislation that requires a percentage in all of those areas.
The answer to your question is yes. Harry Davis, Harry 2009, through the website. A couple of months ago, when there was a big hearing on the Renaissance Square, City Council John Lightfoot, who's not here tonight, was barking like a dog, demanding that everything in Renaissance Square be city workers. No minority things, no anything. Just in the city you work. If you don't, if you're not in the city, you don't. That's probably the right attitude, whether it's legal or not. That's the answer to the question. And right now, people don't know that Governor Patterson this week made a request for almost $600 million for high-speed rail, which includes $116 million for Rochester for jobs to build high-speed rail through Rochester. It was submitted this week by the governor.
Certainly, I support more people from Rochester having jobs, but it just says a percentage. We need more than just a percentage. I'd like to see more local businesses getting contracts, and I'd like to see more local, like the police and the fire department, they can go and recruit people from outside the area. But when they come here to work for us, I'd like to see them live in the city. So we need more jobs for city residents, and anyone who comes here to work, I would prefer to see them live in the city, because we don't want our money to go to someone else. When people live and work in the city, all that money stays right here, and that's what we need.
Absolutely. You want to talk about targeted investment strategy? If the best targeted investment strategy we can give is people in our communities, jobs, and jobs that pay, the ability to raise a family and live. And so I would absolutely support that legislation before City Council.
Yes, I would support jobs being given to city residents. I remember being where you were at a couple of years ago, and I asked the council members who were running that very same question. And still here we are, jobs are not geared towards city residents. I see construction companies that are doing construction on streets in the city. I see no city residents, at least they don't look like city residents to me. And I feel like until we create more jobs in the city, we're losing more taxes. That's where tax base come from. If we want to rebuild the city, we need to create more jobs for our city residents, people contracts and everything in the city. Right?
How could there be a no answer to that? I mean, we absolutely must support having more jobs going to city residents. Unemployment has been double digit in Rochester since long before the market crash or whatever happened. There are folk who have been unemployed since we've been counting unemployment. So one of the ways to get to the issues that we're concerned about, whether it's crime or high school dropouts, teen pregnancy, what have you, is about jobs, good paying jobs. So absolutely would support trying to get more jobs to city residents.
I believe more apprenticeships should be in place now, preparing the youth for construction opportunities that will surely arise in our community in the future. And if we do that, it will make our economy more stable and provide a long-term answer to our public safety issues.
We did approve as a city council apprenticeship language this year that requires apprentices to be used on all jobs, $250,000 and more. We did approve, and it is in place now, that all new employees hired by the city have to live in the city, with the exception of police and fire, which, as Carol stated, is against state law. Other than those two, everybody else has to live in the city. Having said that, by starting the apprenticeship language, by approving the new rules, I also do agree that we need to take that next step, because it's a step-by-step process, to make sure that city workers are employed on construction jobs, whether city construction jobs, meaning we're paying the bill, or other kinds of construction jobs where we may not necessarily be paying the bill, but we can still ask for those requirements. So yes, those are the answers to the question. Thanks.
Residents or reserve a percentage of those jobs for city residents? The answer is absolutely yes. But just like I mentioned before, we can write anything we want in legislation. It's the practice of that legislation.
I would echo many of the things that the candidates have said here, and I do agree that we are on the right path for some of these things, but that there is still work to be done. And I would actually be one of those individuals that would be advocating for a little bit more transparency when it comes to the developers and the contractors that we are working with, that we do follow through, and that we do have some sort of stipulation that requires some sort of transparency, some sort of oversight to ensure that the types of jobs are going to our city residents. They are benefiting from the money that we are giving out through our projects. So I do believe it is important, and there is some reform to be done there to take that next step and include some very specific language and follow through in terms of process to ensure that those things are being done.
Legislation where we need to put our efforts into. And we use county government and state government to carry out some of these programs. Comita is operated by the state. They already have an all local labor provision in it, but that includes 9 counties. So that is not focused on the city. Also, we have other programs, Choice, the Empire Zones. Those have not brought the jobs that they said they would. So city council and the mayor need to work together with state government and other agencies to make sure that they are following through with the provisions that they already signed. Additionally, many of the bid offerings for contract don't have the prevailing wage box check, which means they can pretty much hire contract labor and pay them whatever they want. So we have a lot of issues with oversight of the legislation we already have.
I'm here on jobs and economic development. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we have been working as a city and as a council on those 2 issues. First of all, I have to tell you, we worked very... We worked very diligently with Hickey Freeman. Hickey Freeman alone employs over 500 people. And if I tell you that I met with them, then, they sold to another company, then we thought they were going bankrupt. Carolee Conklin, myself, city council members wrote to them, and we did a lot of meetings with them and the mayor, and so they decided to stay. So that was 500 jobs. The other one that I was looking at before I came in was the brewery. La cerveza, the beer. What it is. But, we saved again over 600 jobs in the city for our city residents, young people. Again, we haven't been sitting down twiddling the fingers. There's no time to twiddle fingers because people and time is up. Oh, Dios mío. But I want to let you know that we are working as a council with the mayor and independently. Because every minute I have, I go out there.
How would you change policing structures in the neighborhoods that are patrolling to make them more racially, culturally, and respectfully aware of the residents?
I appreciate the question. It came up because it's something that I can relate to very vividly and very personally. I remember in Maplewood in the late 1990s, we had the net offices. And the net offices were staffed with competent people and energetic people when there were strong connections between the net offices and the neighborhood associations, the people who watched PACTAC, people who were in the block clubs, the people involved in the churches, the people involved in the community newspaper, one which I published in the Northwest for a period of years. You had those community relations. There certainly is a cultural and racial sensitivity component to this. But we're also all human beings. And, it's a lot harder to beat a guy down with clubs when you're trying to get to a family member in an accident, when you know him, when you saw him at the neighborhood association, when you see him walking on the street going to the grocery store, when he helped you apprehend someone that snatched a purse. This is going to require an investment. The decision to go to the two-tier process was an economic decision, but I think it's the best money we ever spent 10 years ago, and I think we should return to a similar model.
Community policing, those two words mean different things to different people. And I live in Cornhill neighborhood. Our idea of community policing there is walking pad-tag. I, along with 20-25 of my neighbors, walk pad-tag, and I walk 2 or 3 nights a month. That's our idea of community policing. Community policing in Conea or Market View Heights might mean a different thing, although pad-tagging is a very good way to create relationships with RPD. There's some other things we should be exploring. The city now has a program where you can basically, as a city employee, get a $6,000 grant for down payment costs on a house in the city of Rochester. That's available to any city employee. That's one way to begin encouraging firefighters, police officers to live in the city. We need to do more of those creative types of things. We need to get the police out of the cars and on the street. I watched the bicycle, but time up. Sorry, okay.
I support community policing. I think what we talk about as far as making our police officers more culturally competent, I think we always talk about it after the fact, after they're already on the streets. I think we have to go back to the training, whether it's through MCC, whether it's their professional development. I think we're always we talk about it afterwards. So we have to collaborate more with the facilities and with the higher education colleges who are training these police officers and do some sort of diversity training, some sort of professional development training that gears toward cultural competence. Because once they're on the street, it's too late. You can't train them on these different neighborhoods because we probably got over 15 different neighborhood groups and criteria in the city. You can't train them once they're on the job as far as cultural competence. So we need to do that ahead of time. The other thing is about community policing. Every neighborhood's different. Your needs are different as far as what you're looking for community policing. I think we have to go back to the neighborhood groups, the neighborhood leaders, and continue to work with our Rochester police officers and define what you're looking for your community policing.
I live in the South Wedge, but the building I live in can only be described as a ghetto. It's at the corner of South and Alexander Street. Community policing, I've been doing experiments with the police for the past year. When I have a theft, they tell me it's not going to be solved, even when I present evidence. This is first on-the-job experience with the police. I mean, and in that office, I said, I don't want to hear anymore. It's not going to be done. And another officer told me, if we had as many complaints from everybody in the city as you've been giving us this year, the city would shut down. That's unacceptable. I've been working with James about noise from the dogs. Carolee was working with me on the dogs. It's a quality of life thing. I met a young man, a professional, just this past week, who refused to move into my neighborhood because of the dogs barking. It's a quality of life issue. Mayor Duffy and Carolee helped me on this, but it's not been solved. I went to the doggy court, and the judge pulled out a Google print map. It says, you live 3 blocks away from these dogs. You're on the 14th floor. You don't hear them. You don't see them. Case dismissed. So cops telling me that their crimes are not going to be solved is unacceptable. A judge telling you the dog's barking against the law is completely unacceptable.
I say my main focus is public safety. One of my 4 main platform pieces is public safety. And everyone says, well, we need more cops. Well, we do, but it's not just a matter of having more cops. It's a matter of actually the way I would handle things is actually going in the opposite direction, the way more close to how things used to be. I'd like to see the reopening of area precincts. I'd like to see a better relationship between the neighborhoods and the police. I'd like to see better relationships between the youth and the police. And I think that's very important. And, we don't hear a lot about that from other people, but I say the main thing is to bring the connection, rebuild the connection with the police and the residents and the youth, and it's not being done the way it's working now.
I think the first thing you need to do to better neighborhood policing is to work much more aggressively in recruiting and hiring people who look and who look like the residents of the city of Rochester. If you hire more Latinos, more African Americans, and I think the last 2 recruiting classes had maybe 2 or 3 people of color in each of those classes. If we work better to hire people who really represent the breadth and depth of our city, culturally, racially, religiously, whatever you want to add, we do a much better job of neighborhood policing.
As the former chair of Sector 9, that was an issue we had a long time ago. Our police officers not understanding the citizens who they're protecting and serve. So I believe that we first must rebuild relationships with our police officers, because first, when I first came out about our police officers, I was saying, what's going on? And once I realized the way they respond is about response time, I believe that we need to start a dialogue with our officers about roles, rights, and responsibilities of the people who you're protecting and serving. I mean, our officers are here to protect and serve us, and we should have a good relationship with them. Some kind of time they can't differentiate between who's a criminal, who's a good citizen, and everybody's being treated the same. We cannot continue that in our city and expect our youth to feel, like a part of the city.
I do support increased or reestablishment of community policing by whichever definition we use, and there are a lot of definitions, but basically it is where the police and community have a greater engagement and involvement, where they know who each other is. It's very important to know who's in the community so that you don't have the kind of animosity and frankly sometimes fear that is evident with relationships between the police and young black men. It's just difficult. I think there are situations that could be avoided if people knew each other better. We need to reestablish those relationships.
I'm for community policing. I think more should be done for the police officers to establish a beat integrity where they would get to know the residents of the community. And if they did that and they were trained more on how to do it better with the residents, that may affect increase the minority hiring and shine a more positive light on our RPG itself.
Hi, I'm Dan Miller. As a current council member, I chair the Economic Development Committee, but I'm also a member of the Public Safety Committee. So public safety is very important. Each time we have a class in the academy, I go to the academy, I meet with the new recruits, and talk to them about community policing. At the last class, and I was there 4 weeks ago, there were 50 recruits, 2 were Latino, and 1 was African American. So that is a huge problem that we have to fix. We have to convince our people that this is a good job that pays over $50,000 a year after a very short period of time. And the one guy who came up to me, a young Latino guy, said, I'm from 14621. I want to be a police officer so I can go back into 14621 and help police and work with some of the young people that I grew up with. So that's what we really have to do. Other things, permanent PSA assignments, the police service, patrol service areas, we've got to get police in the same PSA on a regular basis, and we have to get them out of the cars. They've got to get out of the cars, walk the streets, know the people, and relate to